State, you can call your next witness.
You're on the state with next call Anthony Knecht.
Good afternoon, sir. Just walk over here to your right, have a seat. Please watch your step. If you need a glass of water, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate you. Thank you. I only ask if there's an objection made. Just please pause. Let me rule on the objection, and we'll go from there, okay? And that microphone is adjustable to help you project your voice. Now, with that said, state your main inquiry. You're ready.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Michael Knecht.
And can you please spell your last name?
Knecht.
And Mr. Knecht, could you please tell us what you do for a living?
I work for Verizon Wireless.
And what's your current title?
In this capacity, I'm a custodian of records with executive relations.
And what are the duties and responsibilities as a custodian of records in executive relations?
I respond to subpoena requests to validate that records that were given to an agency are complete and accurate as the records that they received.
And do those records include Verizon Wireless customers?
They do.
And just to be clear for record purposes, Verizon Wireless is a cell phone company amongst a couple of other brands?
That is correct.
And does Verizon generate a call cell usage reports for any calls made by its customers?
That is correct.
And are these records kept in the ordinary course of business with Verizon Wireless?
That is correct.
Now, is it also possible for law enforcement to obtain records that Verizon normally keeps as part of their ordinary business?
That is correct.
And could that be by search warrant or even a subpoena?
That is correct.
Would just depend on the nature of the actual documents that is being requested?
Yes.
And what sort of information can be provided to law enforcement in these documents?
Cell data, location data, text message, picture messages, IP addresses related to data sessions, any way that a cellular telephone can reach out to a network and make a data connection.
And how long have you been working now for Verizon?
January 7th, 2007.
So quite some time now.
Yes.
And how is information actually generated for these records to be produced?
You have to have a subscriber, and that subscriber has to have a cell phone that's registered on the network, and when they use the service, whether it be an internet session, a text message, a voice call, it authenticates with our network in order to go through, and then any type of usage is validated for billing purposes.
Now, what is a cell tower?
A cell tower is a communication point from which data is streamlined from, streamed to.
So let me just give you, for example, if I'm here making a phone call and I'm close to one of Verizon's towers, how does that tower know that I am close in order to take my signal from my cell phone?
Through network management practices, it could be the closest or the most available cell tower available for capacity.
Now, Mr. Knecht, what if I am driving and I'm using my cell phone?
It would switch over to the next available cell tower. If you were driving, like say down a street, then it could switch as the cell towers progressed as you travel.
Now, what if I were to turn my cell phone off? Does that affect potential data going to these towers in the database?
Yes, if the cell phone's cut off, no data, no transmission would be sent or received.
Now, is it possible for an individual to be observed on his or her cell phone, but yet Verizon has no record of that particular call, text, message, etc.?
Yes.
Could you tell us how that could happen?
That breaks down to applications on the phone. So if you use Wi-Fi, place your phone in airplane mode, enable Wi-Fi apps, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all these other different applications will use the available network. It doesn't matter that it's Verizon Wireless.
And so let's just say, for example purposes, I have a Facebook account. Could I use my Facebook account in airplane mode?
That is correct.
And if I am using my Facebook account and my phone is in airplane mode, could I make a phone call within that application if I've downloaded it to my phone?
That is correct.
And so if I make a phone call, let's just say to you, Mr. Knecht, and I am in that airplane mode in my Facebook account, Verizon Wireless records then would not articulate that, would not even show that it existed.
We would have no record of anything because it wasn't attached to our network.
Now, Mr. Knecht, in the case here today involving State versus Johnathan Quiles, were you asked to review records associated with 904-293-5139?
I was.
And because this has been about 5 years ago, did the state of Florida have to provide you a copy what initially was given to Detective Abbott in this case?
That is correct.
And were you able to verify that those documents appear to be consistent with documents that would be in the ordinary course of business of Verizon Wireless?
That is correct, yes.
Now, Mr. Knecht, I'm going to be showing you what's been marked as States 27. Can you see something on your screen, sir?
Yes, I can.
And does States Evidence 27 appear to be familiar to you?
It does.
And are these the records that's associated with that number that I just stated, the 904-293-5139, that you were asked to review for today's purposes?
It is.
Now, I'll make it bigger here so we can touch upon a few things. So the items that are associated with a PDF, are those kind of information, instructional purposes for a person to understand Verizon's records?
That is correct.
And just let's start, for example, here with the subscriber information. I'll go ahead and click on it. And does subscriber information appear to be a part of the record here?
That is correct.
And who is that person?
Last name Ware, first name Nancy.
And is that person out of Columbus, Georgia?
That is correct.
And when we say subscriber information, does that just mean that that's the owner of this number and this account with Verizon?
That is correct.
So next I'm going to direct your attention to cell site incoming and outgoing. And does that just mean that this is a generation involving incoming and outgoing phone calls?
It's a record of calls that transpired over our network.
And I believe I will get some more numbers here for us. Give me 1 second, sir. I'm just double clicking on a few of the categories here. Now under F, when we see a number, would that be in seconds, minutes, hours, or duration time?
Seconds.
Seconds, yes, sir. Now, in regards to the mobile directory number, can you tell us about that, please, sir?
That's 904-293-5139. That is the Verizon Wireless mobile directory number.
Now, also, too, in looking at column C, There's a way that we can format that, correct? Where it's a little bit more understandable?
That is correct.
And would I then right-click, go to Format Cells, go to Custom, go to 0, and hit OK?
Correct.
And then we see something quite different. Could you please tell us what we are looking at? Because it appears to be the same set of numbers, sir, under column C.
It is. It displays 1191994293539. The first digits are the routing for voicemail that Verizon Wireless has used to allow voicemail transactions to transpire.
And then, and I'll get back to that in just a moment, sir, a little bit more information. But in column E, would that be the accurate time, or would that be involving a UTC time?
That would be the subscriber's actual location.
So if we see 12/19/2018, 16:40, is that fair to say that it would be then 4:40 p.m. if that, since Columbus, Georgia is in the Eastern time zone?
That is correct.
Or would that be associated with the Jacksonville 2 under A for the time zone, which I know Georgia and Florida are the same time zone?
Correct. It would be based off of Jacksonville and the subscriber's location.
Thank you, sir, for that clarification. So, and going back to column C, where we see the same phone number that's associated with this information, but like you were saying just a moment, Mr. Knecht, that we have a 119. I believe you stated that's associated with a voicemail.
That is correct.
So does that mean that the voicemail is being generated by Verizon Network?
This record is showing in section D a forwarding indicator, which means the call never actually rang to a phone and went straight to the voicemail platform.
Okay, so just in plain simple terms, 119 indicates that it's a voicemail that did not go through, therefore there's an in-house response.
That is correct. And if you go to the other columns, G, H, I, J, all being 0, that's another indication to show that it never ended up on a cell tower to locate this cell phone. The phone was unavailable, turned off.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'm going to direct your attention to the text message detail, which is here at the bottom. I'm going to do the same in regards to getting our spacing so we can understand these numbers better. And I am just right-clicking in between the columns for record purposes. I think that's okay. So, in regards to now the text message details, we can see that, so let's start at the top so we can understand. What does the MDN stand for?
The mobile directory number.
All right. And then I'm going to draw your attention to the message. It appears we can see an MO and an MT. Can we please just start with the MO and what that means, sir?
MO is mobile origination, so that means the cell phone would have originated our subscriber, the 904-293-5139, would have placed the text message outbound.
And let's get to that to clarify that a little bit more. Based upon the fact, let's talk about row 2 here, where we see the destination address. Is that a 9.00008E plus 11? Is that what it states, sir?
It does.
Now, because that is not an actual phone number, does that mean then that MO was generated in-house by Verizon?
That is correct.
And is Verizon trying to notify the user of 904-293-5139, hello, you have messages waiting for you?
That is what that number means. There's quite a few different messages Verizon would send out, but one of those messages would be trying to ping back to the phone.
And so is it fair to say, for example, and we'll go, I believe there's 6 total, starting with column 4, that on column 4, we actually see another phone number in the destination address. It's 904-450-0955. When there is a phone number involved in G and H, is it fair to say that that message actually went through?
That is correct.
And I believe that says 9:08 a.m. Would that be accurate on 12/19/2018?
That is correct.
And I believe that that would be the last time. Let's see, because in column 6 at 9:07 a.m. Be fair to say that that was an actual message that also was delivered. It looks like that would have originated from 904-293-5139. The actual subscriber of this number would have sent a message at 9:07 a.m. and it was received. Is that fair to say?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
And here's, if we go down again to line 11, did the 904-450-0955 send a message at 8:26 a.m. and it was in fact received?
That is correct.
So that's, and then again on line 16, we have a 9:07 a.m. message where it commenced. Yep, you can draw. Yep, no problem. It's making it easier, huh, with staring a bunch of numbers, right, Mr. Knecht?
Yes, it does.
And it appears that the 904-450-0955 is sent a message again to the subscriber of these records. Is that, and it was actually received?
That is correct.
Okay. I believe we've discussed 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going down. Here, I'll get with your red too. A little bit off. Then in column 29, is it fair to say that this message went through at 8:55 a.m. and it was sent by 904-450-0955 and 904-293, our subscriber actually received that message?
That is correct.
I believe there's one more. Yep, no, 2 more. Going down, so yes, 2 more. And there was one at 8:43 a.m. in column 33, where, again, the 904-450-0955 sent a message to our subscriber of these records, and it was actually received. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
And then our last verified communication, would that have been, and obviously it would be earlier on from the other records, would that have been at 8:26 a.m. in column 41, and that would have been sent by the actual subscriber to that same phone number that we've been indicating, the 450-0955.
That is correct.
So if we go back up to the column 3 at 9:08 a.m., is it fair to say that this was the last human-generated message between these 2 accounts?
That is correct.
So the other indications that do not have a phone number, those would have been Verizon-generated messages.
That is correct.
And lastly, sir, I'm going to draw your attention to the call logs. Now, in looking at these records, and I'm just going to scan them down just for a moment. You can observed all of them. That's part of this record. Count is 1604 for record purposes. We'll scroll back up. And that bottom date, is that 12/31/2018, Mr. Knecht?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Now, going back up, these call log records commence on 12/19/2018.
Repeat the question.
Do these call log records commence on December 19th, 2018?
They end connecting to the device with those top two, correct?
And do our records start on the 12/19/2018 date?
That is correct.
And based upon review of these call log records under this this tab of the Excel, is it fair to say that only 2 calls were actually made and received from one person to another?
That is correct.
And based upon the fact that in column B, with those 2 calls under row 2 and 3 have been respectively at 7:02:34 a.m. and 7:05:18 a.m.
That is correct.
And based upon these records, there is no further phone activity after December 19th, 2018. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
So just want to clarify a few things if we could, okay? You testified on direct that these cell sites go by, they basically collect the cell data of the general location of where they are, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, the location is not necessarily determined by exactly where they are, but to be clear, it's kind of like a triangulation of different cell towers, and it's the first available one that has access and availability to pick up the call. Would that be accurate?
There's several factors of why the first cell tower would pick up the call. That would be one of them.
Okay, what are the others?
Proximity, network traffic. So network traffic, if one cell tower is busier than another cell phone tower, it will offload to the next closest. It's still going to keep them in a general proximity, not several miles away, but still within a proximity of the subscriber.
Right, and it's done by a triangulation of towers to determine which one's closest and available. Would that be accurate?
Through network management practices, Verizon has a way of allowing the call to be sent and received.
Okay. Now, you had talked about it's able to track whether or not it's pinging off of a tower or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, if it goes dead, that doesn't mean that, meaning it's not receiving a signal. That doesn't mean that the person necessarily turned it off. The battery could have died. Any number of factors could have contributed to that. Would that be accurate?
The phone being powered off, yes.
Okay. And you were showing all those phone records. If somebody takes a SIM card out, that will also affect it. Wouldn't that be accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. So they could still be using the same phone and put a new SIM card in it and be on their way, and it would recognize it under something different. Wouldn't that be true?
In theory.
In theory?
I mean, anything is possible with taking and switching SIM cards.
Okay. And so if somebody doesn't want to be tracked, all they got to do is switch out a SIM card, or, for lack of better words, go up to the local store and get a burner phone, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So the fact that the last time that that phone number received a call or sent a call is just indicative of That's the last time that phone received anything, right?
That was the last Verizon wireless record for that subscriber, correct?
Okay. May I have just a second with Council, Joe? Nothing further, Your Honor.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Sir, good to see you. Have a good rest of your day.